Hey everybody, welcome back to microbeerreviews.com. Tonight, this is a beer we have waited to review for a while, only because it was something that was in big bomber bottles and now they're in these 16-ounce cans. This is called Undead Party Crasher. It's an American Imperial Stout. This is from Clown Shoes Beer. All of their labels are insanely cool. Tons of artwork, a lot of time put into these. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you, and I know the lighting's not great. There's a bunch of monsters, some sort of like Yoda guy right here, this guy with a crossbow. Clearly the Undead are coming out of the underground, and it says, welcome trademark attorneys. It's just got, I mean, you could literally look at the can for 5 minutes and not see everything that's on here, which is super cool. So again, I remember when this came out in bomber bottles. This is the only can that I was able to get. This is again one of those things where you look at some of their creativity. If you get on their website and you look at some of the retired beers, some of the names are super entertaining. I'll leave it at that. Let you get on the website. You can check it out for yourself. So this selection we have going on here is 10% ABVs. Again, the reason why I haven't had this before, but I've heard a ton about how they've really tried to expand their selections, break into the stout market, which I think is really difficult to do with some of the bigger breweries around. They're becoming one of the bigger breweries around, but at the same time, as their mission statement says, to produce beer without pretense while being free and a little crazy. That's awesome. So real quick before we open the beer, it says, in a world of uncertainty, hardship, and people trying to hold back, we do see the need to bring this no die, no monsters, forces of darkness brought about a change in the name of this beer, which is released to celebrate our 2nd anniversary, but it still sports signature dark malts, holy water, and malt smoked locally with hickory and ash. That's another thing I learned about this brewery before we open it up. They do a lot of local products, support their local farmers, things like that, to try to bring it as much of the local flavor to it out of Vermont, out of Windsor, Vermont. So actually it says Boston and Windsor, Vermont, but everything I remember reading about this stem from Vermont, so correct me if I'm wrong. Most of our YouTubers do that. So without further ado, that was one of the longest introductions I've had in a while, only because I have been very much anticipating this review. So as we pour it into the glass, it looks exactly the way it should be. It's dark, it's chocolatey, the head has got a nice color to it, not too caramel, not too carbonated, not too fizzy. It's perfectly black. It's exactly the way I expected it to be. Again, the head has that coffee and that toffee kind of color to it, which is super cool. Laces the glass just a tiny bit, but it should at 10% ABVs. And exactly what I would have anticipated. The aroma's killer. It's dark plum, it's cherries, it's malty, it's coffee, it's chocolate. There's a really good coffee backbone to this. Again, that dark fruitness is coming out. The maltness is coming out, but it is really, really well blended with that stout effervescence of bringing in those really dark fruits. It's got some cocoa to it, just a teeny bit of that milk chocolate. It smells killer. I mean, again, I read about this and I was, thankful to get one can, but without further ado, cheers. Let's get into the glass, see what we have here. Whew, that's good. So, I'm going to make a statement here that I did not anticipate making before I tell you anything else. The finish on this beer reminds me of 1050, which is one of my top 5 beers of all time from Oscar Blues. it's got this killer finish of these plums and cherries and cocoa and coffee and this maltness that just coats the back of your palate. And at 10%, you would think there would be a little booziness. 1050 does not have it, in my opinion. Never has, never will. They have perfected it. This challenges that. Challenge is the key word. Now, with that being said, the mouthfeel on this beer is a little less. It's not as thick. Again, I'm already comparing it to 1050, which I think is one of the best beers on the planet. But this beer has a really good balance to it. Man, that is delicious. There's a lot of that cherry, plum. There's a little teeny bit of pecan in there, and then it hits you with a little bit of chocolate and coffee, and it just keeps going and going and going as it goes through your palate. But the key to these beers, I think that the reason they become popular on reviews and it makes a brewery for a while is it's the finish. It's got this really, really smooth. It's not boozy. It doesn't have a lot of bite to it, and the bitterness settles itself out at the end. Where when you, again, and this is why 1050 is so good. Hence, this beer is phenomenal. Is after you drink it, the way it coats your palate, it wants you to recognize the complexity, appreciate it, and then have another sip. And you're like, oh, that was really good. I think I'll have another. I mean, this is one of those beers. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely everything I read about. It's a must buy. I rate my beers between 1 and 5. This is a 5. I would put this next to 1050 all day long. I'm not going to jump the gun and say it's equal to or better than 1050, even though I would rate 1050 at 5%, or 5%. 1 out of 5, not 5%, 100%. It's just got so many qualities to it, and I think the beauty of brewing a stout like this with this complexity is the finish, and they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. I will do my best to find it again. I was happy to get 1 can, and I knew how difficult it was to get that. So this will be in my top 10 of 2018. I am thrilled to say I was able to try the Undead, Party Chaser that I heard so much about. If you tried it, please let us know. Leave comments on your YouTube channel or our website, microbeerreviews.com. We do appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.